Morning guys, today Wayne Dyer shares with us some more wisdom, and this one he reminds us of is within us, and that is, you can't give away what you don't have. And isn't this so true? So when we look at ourselves, as we look at ourselves trying to develop the full power and control of our mind, if we don't fully control ourselves and that power, that positive power of our mind, how is it that we can even begin to share that or give away that with others? So same goes with fundamental law in life, which is love. If we don't love ourselves, if we don't feel good about ourselves, well then how can we give that to anyone else? We can't give away what we don't have. And it sounds so simple, but it's number one. Everything starts with us. You have to love yourself, you have to believe in yourself, you have to know you have a lot of good to give, and then you can share that with others. Have a great morning, everyone.
The world recently lost a legend of the personal development industry, Mr. Bob Proctor. And so to celebrate his life, please enjoy one of these videos that I've made from our vault of espressos.
How many times have you had somebody say to you, hey, have you got a minute, Bob? Have you got a minute? They don't want a minute. I want you to think about that. I read a poem one time. It said, I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. It was forced upon me. I can't refuse it. I didn't seek it and I didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. It's only a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. Well, at any rate, I thought I'm going to put this on a video and I'm just going to share it with everybody. Just this one little part out of the seminar I'm making. I want you to look at this sand timer and I want you to think about your life. The sand in the top of the glass represents the future. The sand in the bottom of the glass represents the past. Now, do you know, we know what's in the past and yet we can't do anything about it. Do you know what the trick is? You don't know how much sand's in the top of the glass. You may think you have a lot, you might only have a little. Then again, you may think you have a little and you might have a lot. When I was a little boy, I was raised by my grandmother. And I don't know, when I was a little gaffer, she was probably 60, but as long as I can remember, Grandma would say, I'll soon be gone, dear, I'll soon be gone. Well, you know, we loved her. She was really an angel of God, but we thought she was never going to go. She lived to be 94 for 30-some years. I'll soon be gone. She didn't think she had much time left. She had 34 years left. Now, about the same time, I had a buddy of mine, Bob Yates. He was just 16. And bang, he ran into the abutment of a bridge and his life was snuffed out. If you had asked him a half hour before how much sand he had left, he would have said at least a half a century. He didn't have a half an hour. See, the trick is we don't know how much sand we have left. The future, we don't know. The past, it's gone. Now, the only thing you can deal with is what's right here, right now. And if you look, the sand is always moving. Now, think of this. You see, I was working on that, and then I was working on a graph I've got here on my computer, and I'm thinking of the time somebody said, hey, have you got a minute? Well, they don't really want a minute. Do you know if you're earning $50,000 a year, a minute's 42 cents? A half hour is $12.50. If we take that ahead a bit, if you're earning $80,000 a year, a minute's 67 cents. Half hour is $20. If you're earning $150,000 a year, got a minute? It costs you $1.25 a minute. A half hour is $37.50. So do you see, if somebody said, do you want to stop for a cup of coffee? Well, if you're earning $250,000 a year, a minute is $2.08. Half hour is $62.50. And then, of course, you got the coffee to pay for on top of that. So you see, the point is this. This is all we've got right here, right now. We don't know how much we have left in the future, but we do know what we've got now. And I have found the people that win are the people who make up their mind they're not going to waste the minutes. They're going to be productive. They're going to make it happen every minute.
As I watch Bob, I'm reminded of Ingvar Kamprad, who's the founder of IKEA. And one of the things he said that really left his mark on me was, he says to divide your life into 10-minute chunks and then waste as few of those chunks as possible. Divide your entire life, every day that you have, into 10-minute chunks and waste as few of those chunks as possible. I think if you look at most people's work days where they think they're working, most people work at a job where they're working 9 to 5, they're probably only working 3 to 4 hours of really being super productive. And there's a lot of wasted time between lunch and checking Facebook and just downtime. You're not actually working that hard. And if you want to have success and you do something meaningful and have the greatest impact that you can have, you got to stop wasting as many of those 10-minute chunks as possible. I think in my life, I'm pretty rigorous about it. I think it could be even better, honestly, which would probably shock and surprise the people who know me best who have to deal with me and my time management. But I'm already pretty rigorous. It's why I don't use a cell phone, because I don't want people calling me. I don't want people texting me, because it's not just answering that phone call, it's a distraction from what I'm trying to do, right? It takes me out of the zone of what I'm working on right now. I don't like going to most parties. I don't like going to most weddings. I don't like just hanging out with people. I want to go where I feel like I'm having an impact, right? I'm motivated by impact. And so if I'm going to a wedding and I feel like, you know what, nobody really cares if I'm here or not. The bride and groom that I don't really know don't really care if I'm here. I don't want to be there. Going to a party, if people don't really care if I show up or not, it's just a party, I don't want to be there. Like, I want to make sure that I'm spending my time and having an impact on things. Now, if you need me for something, if you're struggling with a problem with your business and your personal life, I will drop everything to come and help you, because again, I'm motivated by the impact. Sometimes I still end up going to weddings because of, family commitments and not wanting to cause conflict and strife, but it still bothers me. It still deep down inside bothers me that I'm wasting my time. And so I think I could still get better, as rigorous and as demanding as my schedule already is. But I would challenge you to look at your schedule, look at the work that you're doing. How many 10-minute chunks are you wasting? How many times you get distracted by things happening in your life? How many times you just chill instead of actually getting some work done? And I think even if you don't work any extra hours, even if you just take the hours that you're currently working, because you still want to spend time with family, you still want to sleep, you still want to do your other activities, even however, if you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, whatever it is, 70, 80, 100, just those current hours, look at that time frame, I bet you could be way more productive than you currently are. You're wasting way too many of those 10-minute chunks in your life. And if you want to go out and have a big impact, You have to waste less of them. If you want to see my favorite deep dive into the world of Bob Proctor, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I want you to think of this for a moment. Let's suppose there was a virus going around, and this virus caused people to really stunt their growth, ruin.
Good afternoon, guys. I remember Stephen Covey saying in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that we have an emotional bank account. And when I heard that term, it really changed the way I looked at everything that I said and felt. So he says that we have an emotional bank account, which means that we can make deposits in our own self-worth emotional bank account, but we can make deposits in other people's emotional bank accounts. So we can choose to listen and try to understand people, even if we don't agree with what they're saying. That makes a deposit in their emotional bank account. And he says that we also make withdrawals when we decide to not fully try to understand people, as an example. So we have this emotional bank account, and it's what fulfills us or takes away from our true great selves. So I just wanted to share that with you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
So remember I was reading a book years ago on preparing for a marathon, and one of the chapters, again, was on the psychology of it, and it said this verbatim, because I'm the memory expert. It said, your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. And I always tell people that, and now I don't think the brain is like a supercomputer. I think it's a weak metaphor for what it is, because this is like a living computer that could do so much more and has different capabilities. But I would say that your self-talk is important, and it is the program that we will run. And I always tell people to keep it positive, keep it empowering, because your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk, right? And you have to be careful what you say to yourself, because it's this unconscious command. So I would be very careful, like when I get nervous, or I feel like I think some of the most successful people live at the edge of their limits, and they play there also as well. And so whenever I feel in my nervous system, I feel like I can't do it, then I feel like I really must do it, because I feel like how we do anything is how we do everything.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know you've got more inside you. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn the 10 habits that you can start this month to change your life. Enjoy. Habit number 2, set an intention with Mel Robbins.
I have this habit of every single morning, I stand in front of the mirror and I take a moment and I raise my hand and I give my reflection a high five. And there is so much science behind this. So instead of seeing yourself, right, and having this moment in the mirror, you know what the average person does? First of all, we beat ourselves down. So I would look in the mirror for 40 some years and be like, oh my God, my freaking jowls look like saddlebags on a goddamn horse going in the Grand Canyon. My eyes have my neck is only striped. My one boob's hanging lower than the other. I look like my gray hair. Like I start bringing myself down. And when you start going down that road with your reflection, then your thoughts go to, I didn't get to that email. I forgot to text Lisa back. Oh my gosh, the dog still needs to be walked. I've got 9 minutes for my first Zoom call. You're now checking out. And that moment in the mirror every morning could be a profound moment where you lift yourself up and you check back in with your intention. So the first piece of research, and this is recent from Harvard Business School, is that a simple moment in the morning where you set an intention about who you're going to be today impacts productivity, how you show up as a leader. It impacts your confidence. It impacts your mood all day long. Just that simple moment of setting an intention. So that's research number 1. Instead of standing in front of the sink in your bathroom and criticizing your appearance, or mindlessly going on autopilot, check back in and let's teach you to make it a habit to lift yourself back up. Second piece of research, and this comes from a whole field of study called neurobics. Neurobics is like aerobics for your mind. I didn't make this up. This is literally, you can speed up the development of new neural pathways by marrying physical activity with a change in thought. And so traditionally, I know you've covered this on your show, if you, for example, were to brush your teeth, I'm a right-hander, if you were to brush it with your other hand and think a new thought, the fact that your brain is focusing on brushing with your non-dominant hand activates more focus on the new thought. It accelerates the learning. So you take neurobics, a physical activity with a different thought, and let's talk about a high five, for example. What does a high five mean to you?
That somebody did something awesome or I did something awesome.
Correct. And if you think about the times in your life when you've gotten a high five, it's because somebody's like, Tom, you're amazing. Tom, get your attitude out of the can. You got this. Tom, you're going to make this shot. Tom, we can still win. I believe in you. Keep going. You have a lifetime positive association with giving other people high fives stored right here in your subconscious mind. When you raise your hand to your own reflection, it is impossible for you to think, God, I look fat. Boy, am I an asshole. I really screwed up my life. You can't do it because your lifetime association with this motion is all, I believe in you, I got you, I see you, I celebrate you. And so you, in the moment of doing it, override decades of negative self-talk. It's incredible. Now, have you ever gotten a high five where somebody misses the hand, or it's sort of like, it sucks, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, what do you do when that happens?
I redo it.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's because a high five requires you to be present, and there is an intention behind it. So you can't raise your hand to your own reflection without now grounding yourself in the moment.
Habit number 3, be deliberate with Andrew Huberman.
If I finish a chapter, I will stop for a moment and I'll just kind of smile and laugh at myself. I'm big on like self-reflection with humor and just think, this is crazy. You know, my brain is under my control. There would be people out there that say there's no free will, but I do not believe that. I put my hands in a lot of brains. You stimulate certain brain areas, people do things. You stimulate other brain areas, people think things. Ultimately, unless you have electrodes in your head and someone's stimulating them, we are in control of our thoughts and behaviors. Wow. We can't control all of them, but my goal is to be as deliberate and non-reflexive as possible in life. That's my goal from when I wake up in the morning until I go to sleep.
How do we get to that place?
Little by little and by rewarding each thing. If you get up and I'll use the make the bed example, make the bed, you're not back on your heels, you make a cup of coffee, you sit down, you script out something in a journal, you exercise, maybe you call a relative that you think you need to hear from you or that you'd like to talk to. You do something in a deliberate way, just being deliberate and learning to push away the things that are trying to make you reflexive is so important.
Habit number 4, start and learn with Mark Randolph.
The idea you start with, it didn't work, but it's a starting point. But once you start, you actually begin learning what might be the path to something that will work. I mean, in Netflix's case, it took a long time, but it doesn't mean that it's not a fun process or that it's a process in itself. You're actually moving forward, even though you haven't figured it out yet. I mean, and certainly when we started, Netflix was not streaming video. It was DVD. It was mailing DVDs. And for those people who might actually be familiar with the Netflix DVD service now, it wasn't like it is now. It wasn't a subscription service. It was due dates. It was late fees. I mean, it was, looking back on it, ridiculous. And so, of course, it didn't work. I mean, the occasional person would rent from us, but they wouldn't rent a second time. It was really hard to find someone who was willing to do it more than once. But we learned. We tried things. We tested things. And each time you do a test, even though it may not solve the problem completely, it does illuminate the path forward just a little bit. At the very least, you've learned what doesn't work, and you can try a different direction. And little by little, in our case, it took a year and a half, But eventually, you finally, if you're lucky, stumble onto the business model that actually does work, that's repeatable and scalable, and where you can actually, lo and behold, charge more for it than it costs you to deliver the service.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Habit number 5, find balance with Radhanath Swami.
One time, I was going through a lot of trials in my life, because everyone does. Whether you're living for a spiritual purpose or a material purpose or anything else, the nature of the world is there's going to be challenges. There's going to be setbacks. Because just like there's 2 sides of a coin, in America we call it heads and tails. So similarly, life is like a coin. And wherever there's happiness, the other side is distress. There's health, there's disease, honor, dishonor, pleasure, pain, success, failure, birth, death. It's a world of dualities. And that coin is always going to flip over. And there's not that much we can do about it. However much we know, however much we have, there's a little space between the heads and the tails, the rim.
Yes.
And in that place, we actually find balance. And that's very important, that balance between people. The balance, the harmony between the body, the mind, and the spirit. That's the place where our relationships can be real, can be fulfilling, and can be sustainable.
Habit number 6, change your perspective with Marie Forleo.
I was believing that if I didn't work constantly, that I wasn't a worthy person, that I wasn't doing enough to make my business successful, that I was perhaps letting people down. And so I had to really shift that and understand that, you know, I come from a background, I don't come from a wealthy background. So the work ethic in my nuclear family is very strong. Like my dad owned a small business. My mom, although she stayed home with us, she was constantly doing stuff, constantly working, constantly fixing things, constantly doing things that took care of the family. So that's the kind of DNA I grew up with, was like, no, if something needs to get done, you get it done. It's not like you sit around all day and eating bonbons and watching TV. So, so that's kind of how I got there. But then I had to readjust if I actually wanted to not only have a successful business, but have a successful life.
Habit number 7, try on new values with Mark Manson.
Let's say I'm just really superficial and I value money more than anything. Like I've got like a fleet of yachts and it's all I care about, you know? And then something happens in my life and I realize that that's pretty superficial. I should like grow up a bit and, you know, value something else. And it's not as simple as just deciding. Like we've all had that experience in our lives where we wish we cared about something that we don't, or vice versa. We wish we didn't care about something that we do, and you can't just stop. And so the process that I describe in the book is that essentially before you can commit to a new value, you kind of have to like try them on. Like it's like going to a store and trying on a bunch of pairs of clothes. And the way you try on a new value is you need to sit down and visualize. And you can even write it out if you want. But it's like, let's say all I care about is my fleet of boats, and I want to try on a new value, like charity or something. I have to sit down and start asking myself, what would it mean for my life? What would it mean for me as a person if I didn't value those boats anymore? And that's a very hard question. It really messes us up because we realize that a lot of our relationships would probably fall apart. A lot of our business commitments would probably fall apart. A lot of our understanding of ourselves would be shaken up or questioned. And it's a very difficult thing to ask. And so you know, most of the times when you see visualization taught in the self-help industry, it's like they take a guy who wants a fleet of boats and they say, visualize a fleet of boats. Now go get it. And it's like, no. What you need to do is take a guy who wants a fleet of boats and say, visualize not wanting a fleet of boats. What would that say about you? Who would you be if that thing you always desired was not your desire anymore?
Habit number 8, figure out your routine with Glennon Doyle.
I can only do creative work in the morning. I can do business, like when, you know, after the kids get off to school, I can do business. I can do an interview, I can do work, but I can't do anything creative. And I actually don't know anything after. Like, I know all the things in the morning. I'm so wise for like an hour and a half, and it's just all gone. So I just have to like grab that time. And if I do that every day, and also for me, creating and writing is I mean, I would hope my kids wouldn't see this part, but it's like the most important thing to me. So I feel like I like them also, but
You're nice. I like you. And you.
Yeah, I mean, I created them also, so I feel good about them.
Yeah, that's creativity.
But for me to feel fulfilled, like I've done my work for the day, I have to do that in the morning, and then I don't care what happens after that.
Yeah.
Like I've done all the hardest things, the most important things before anybody wakes up, so the rest of the day is like gravy.
Habit number 9, be honest with yourself with Lewis Howes.
Do you have any tips about how you've learned how to be honest with yourself versus avoiding?
I think it's hard sometimes. It just depends on the situation and what we're talking about, but I'm not sure if I really have advice on how to be honest with yourself. I think when you know something's off, whether it be a career you're working in or a relationship or something you need to tell someone in your family or whatever it may be, when you know something is off, that's when you should listen to yourself and pay attention. And if you're not paying attention to it and saying, okay, maybe this is going to be, you know, hurt by being honest, it's hurting yourself more by not sharing than by sharing. And I think you've got to be discerning on every situation, and everything is unique, and you've got to be aware of the timing of when you're saying things and stuff like that. But the more honest you can be, I think the better, at least with yourself, and just be aware of what feels right and what doesn't feel right.
And habit number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is choose to be happy with Dora Gopal Das.
A lady who was over 90 years old but had a great flair towards dressing up well, applying makeup and arranging her hair in beautiful patterns. She and her husband had been married to each other for 70 years. After the departure of her beloved partner, having no children and no one in the family to care for her, she decided to move to a nursing home. Even on the day when she vacated her home for good, she dressed up elegantly and looked gorgeous. After arriving at the nursing home, she had to wait patiently in the lobby for hours before her room was ready. When an attendant helped her make her way to the room, she gave the lady a visual description of the tiny space that she was meant to occupy. "I love it," the lady expressed with the enthusiasm of an 8-year-old who had just been presented with a new puppy. "Mrs. Jones, you haven't even seen the room yet. Just wait," the attendant remarked. "Well, my joy has nothing to do with the room," the lady replied. "Whether I like my room or not doesn't depend on how the furniture is arranged. It depends on how I arrange my mind. Happiness is something you can decide ahead of time. And I've already decided to love my room, to love the people around me, to love my life. It is a decision that I make every morning when I wake up. You know what? The greatest asset we all have is the power to choose how we feel." The lady continued speaking as the attendant listened attentively with her mouth wide open. I can spend my entire day in bed thinking of the pain I am in, focusing on those parts of my body that no longer work. Or I can get out of bed and be thankful for those parts that do work. Each day is a gift, and as long as my eyes can still open, I will continue to focus on today and all the happy memories I have stored in my mind just for this time in my life. The attendant was astounded by the positive attitude of the elderly lady, whose life from an external point of view was only full of problems and hopelessness. Ladies and gentlemen, only problems happen automatically. Happiness is a choice we all have to make. Only anger happens automatically. Peace is a choice we all have to make. Only hatred happens automatically. Love is a choice we all have to make. Being negative happens automatically. A positive attitude is a choice we all have to make. Complaining is automatic. Gratitude is a choice we all have to make. Choose right and live well.
Good evening, guys. I want to share with you an example from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and how we can all laugh our way to infinite mind wealth as we make mistakes. I remember a mistake he was describing by a gentleman who thought he was understanding his son, that he was actually trying to fully understand him. By posing the question, I remember he was telling Stephen Covey, I don't understand my son. He just won't listen to me. And try to think if you've ever done this before, because I know I have. And then Stephen Covey would say to him, let me get this straight. You don't understand your son because he won't listen to you. And so it went on back and forth until finally Stephen Covey said to him, I thought that to understand someone else, you had to listen to them. But the man was trapped in his own mind. He thought that he understood his son, and he just kept going on and on. So we got to remember, this is a tough process. Have a great evening, everyone.
Where do you think all success starts with?
Well, the fast answer is mindset. Going back to the only belief that matters, you said it. It's the way you act is ultimately all that matters, and the way you act follows what you allow yourself to believe. Or maybe a better way to say it is what you choose to believe. Mm-hmm. So if you choose to believe that your energy and efforts will result in more skill set, then you will actually put energy and effort into getting that, which means you actually will get the skill set. But if you think, well, my talent and intelligence are fixed, so no matter how much I work, I'm never going to get better, right? I can't be a fast pig. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think that putting time and energy into it will yield anything, then you won't put time and energy into it, and you thusly won't get the skills. So, and if you don't have the skills, then you can't do the things other people can do. And so people just get stuck because they don't have the only belief that matters. So they don't put the time and energy. And so that's like where everything starts is, are you putting the time and energy into getting better, yes or no?
Need motivation? Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tom Bilyeu, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, surround yourself with the right people.
I think that the only thing that matters are results. And if you aren't getting the result that you want, then you're not making the right decision.
surrounding yourself with people who act in a way that's going to lead you to the goals that you want to get to that's it. I so believe that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. How could you not be? It's like, you're going to be surrounded by those ideas. You're going to feel good about yourself because they're going to praise you for things. And if they're praising you for working your ass off, for admitting a mistake, that turns you into one kind of person. If they're praising you for smoking a J, or for playing an extra hour of video games, or for, hammering that Mountain Dew, or jumping in on some cake with them, it's like, well, then you're going to go down that path because it's rad. And we are social creatures, man. And you want to please and inspire the people that you're around. And so change your circle, it will change everything about your life. And they've done crazy studies on this. If your friends on Facebook, not even your real life friends, if your friends on Facebook are obese, you're more likely to become obese. It's nuts. So you're going to morph depending on the ideas that you surround yourself with. And that's why I'm such a voracious reader, because I spend way more time with writers than I do even with my friends, just because, the sheer amount of time I dedicate to reading.
Rule number 3, acquire skills.
How did you start? Like, do you have to have a certain mindset, or like, what are the steps in becoming successful?
Well, Michaela, I'm very glad that you said mindset. So, yes. I don't believe that people are born or, sort of meant to be anything. I think that we are, as humans, the ultimate adaptation machine. And there's no question we're not blank slates. So everybody's going to have certain things that they're good at, that they get what I call disproportionate returns. So for me, that's always been verbal ability. If I put time and energy into extemporaneous speaking, I'm going to get bigger rewards than maybe somebody else. But at the end of the day, I definitely was not a born entrepreneur. And so my goals mandated that I get good at business. And therefore, I put a bunch of time and energy into getting good at business. So for anybody out there who is a budding entrepreneur that it may be daunted by the idea that, I'm never going to be as good as Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk or, somebody who was born an entrepreneur. I will just say that my favorite quote, and I say this all the time now, is you can't make a racehorse out of a pig, but you can make a really fast pig. So even if you don't have natural entrepreneurial instincts, which I do not, you can still build a big and thriving business. So it really is about skill set. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to first figure out what is the reason that your company exists, what's its mission, its purpose, and then what skill set will you need in order to fill that. And I will just say at the highest level, if somebody wants to be a CEO type entrepreneur, you really have to have the ability to create momentum. Now, to me, momentum is all about not just moving quickly, it's about getting a large group of people pointed in the same direction and moving quickly. So there's going to be a lot of leadership stuff. There's going to be finance. There's going to be organizational structure, but it's all skill set. So if people are willing to march down the path of learning how to do that, that's going to be the first step. But I would just say, decide what your product is, take action immediately, make a lot of mistakes. Truly, mistakes are going to teach you what you need to learn. And as long as you're not paralyzed by the fact that you aren't yet good enough to do what you want to do, and that's going to be a process, then you'll be fine. But you've got to get yourself moving. And obviously we could go on and on and on for hours. I'll leave it at that. And if there's a thread you want to pull on, I can go deeper on any of that stuff.
Rule number 4, chase your goal, not money.
If you have a $1 million business, you'll want to get it to 10 million. What's the best way to distribute your time between marketing, training your employees, developing yourself?
All right, everybody, what does this start with? Clarity of your goal. So what's your goal?
$10 million a year.
That's just money. How are you going to get there? Why are we just chasing money?
Yes.
Sell drugs. You might go to jail, but damn, on the way up, baby. You can make some money. The next best thing, crypto, then flipping NFTs, but you can go broke real fast doing that. But damn, if you hit, I made $100,000 in 48 hours on a single NFT that I bought for $250. Not financial advice, let me tell you. But those are really dumb ways. Crypto's not dumb. But those are like really sort of roll the dice, bet it all on black ways. If all you care about is money, it will send you down a very dark path that I'm not super helpful at. Once you have a goal and there's like a thing behind you, but even setting all that aside, I will just say you have to be in an industry where the upside potential is big enough that you could actually solve a problem. Remember, this starts with, I'm solving a problem for somebody who knows they need that problem solved, and then I'm going to go solve it better than anybody else. That's the real answer. But if I could change your life, because this will matter so much, business is a game of attrition. Most people give up. Why do they give up? Because hard things suck. So, when you have a hard thing, who has read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl? Is that really it? Scream that out if you've read it. Okay, this is the most important thing I will say to you, literally, in this whole talk. Every single person in this room, if you were serious about enjoying your life, read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It is about a guy who survived the concentration camps. He happened to be a neuroscientist, and what he realized was you could predict when someone would die within 72 hours because they would lose a sense of meaning and purpose. Now, if you can survive Auschwitz on meaning and purpose alone, let me tell you how important meaning and purpose is in a business. Because as hard as building a business has been, it's no Auschwitz. So, trust me when I say meaning and purpose will get you through. When I was building Quest, it was all about saving my mom and my sister. That was what I attached to it. And so when I was there at 2 a.m. on a Friday night with bloody knuckles fixing a piece of equipment that I did not want to be fixing, I would think of my mom and my sister. I would not think of $10 million because nature has compelled me to think of them in a way, and I get an emotional reward I won't get from anything else. So even if you're just going to chase the 10 million, make it about your kids, giving them a better life or something. But think about that other something. We good?
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, focus on your dreams.
When I really think about what's the impact I want to have on the world, it's to show people that it does not matter where you are today. It only matters who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there. And it makes me sad for other people that they think that I have some natural talent and that they then let themselves off the hook because of that. Because let me tell you, when I was laying in bed 4 hours a day, every day in the morning, I didn't feel talented. I'll just tell you that. Like, I felt like a loser. Social media didn't exist. There was no way for me to reach out to people and connect with these thought leaders. You could get Tony Robbins tapes and books and stuff, and that's what I did. But it's like, man, that's a pretty far cry from where things are today. And so I felt so hopeless and so lost and just unsure of how I was going to make anything in my life. And so for people to be like, oh, well, easy for you to say you have XYZ talents. Like, really, truly, I do not. I had 0 instincts as an entrepreneur coming into it. I was a buffoon, fell on my face, embarrassed myself. I mean, just stupid beyond all imagining.
Rule number 6, feel good by yourself.
When my voice coughs up, you're just not smart enough to pull this off. I say, all right, cool. That's a habit loop trigger to remind myself that all that really matters is skill acquisition. Have I reached the limit of my ability to acquire skills in the area that I need to move forward? If the answer is yes, go hire somebody. If the answer is no, then keep pushing my skill set because I don't value myself anymore for being smart. So realizing that I'm never going to be the smartest person that ever lived, sad but true, that it doesn't damage my sense of self-worth. And that becomes really important, though, when you think about, so I always try to tell people this, the point of life isn't money. As somebody who chased money for a very long time, I can assure you, won't touch how you feel about yourself as much as you think it might. So money's not going to help you. Fame isn't going to help you. Accolades aren't going to help you. None of that is going to change the one thing that matters, which is how do you feel about yourself when you're by yourself? that matters. Your entire life is about that question. And once you stop valuing yourself for being smart and you value yourself for the sincere pursuit of greatness or excellence, or just translating that potential into actual skill set, then, look, you still have ups and downs in life. Things are going to be hard. There's going to be emotional turmoil, all that. But man, can you get back to center really, really fast.
Rule number 7, find your passion.
When people are truly passionate about what they do, you just get a chemical rush. You get the energy. You become more resourceful. When someone who doesn't have passion because they don't really want to be there anyway, they will give up way easier because they're not having a good time. It's not in them. There's an awesome quote, I'm paraphrasing, but you'll get the idea. Don't try to change the world unless you seek change the way a man whose head is on fire seeks a pond. That is so true. Like, imagine what that would be like, right? Your head is literally on fire. Your ass is going to find some water. You will mash your head into the side of a rhino if you have to put it out, right? Like, you're putting it out. There is an immediacy to that need that gets humans to do incredible shit. If you want to change your life, you've got to tap into something that gives you that same feeling. For me, it's passion. And for the people that I've seen that have that passion, something is burning inside of them. Wow, man, you can do incredible stuff. Now the follow-up, I'll ask my own follow-up question. Well, how do you find that thing that you're passionate about? Since I know that's the next question that people ask. In you right now is the ember of something you don't want to admit to yourself. I promise you. And if you let me interview you long enough, I will get to that thing. And you will resist me trying to get to that thing for a very long time. First, you'll give me a bullshit answer. First, you're going to tell me that you want to be happy. That's useless. I need to know what makes you happy. I need to know how you plan to be happy. Okay? When people say generically that they want to be happy, they might as well tell me that they want a hit of meth because they're just saying I want a chemical state. Great. It's transient. It's going to go away. That's not very useful for you. Then once we get past that you want to be happy, you're going to guess at some random things that make you happy. I want to be around my family, all that. Okay, well, let's put that in context. You're here seeking a job, or you're asking me a question about being an entrepreneur, and you're telling me that the thing that makes you happy is being with your family. I can't help you with that. In fact, I'm going to do the exact opposite. If I do my job, I'm pulling you all away from your family all the time. I'm trying to get you to commit so deeply to what we're trying to accomplish here that you're going to be absent just from a physical time perspective. And my only hope is that I light you on fire with so much passion that I send you back to your family full of joy, optimism, and a vision for you being able to do anything you want. Now that's infectious. Your family will love you for it, and they'll push you right back into my loving arms. But that's still not the truth. That's me feeding you answers. So once we get past that and we paint that picture, we finally get to I don't know, which is the truth that lies on top of the better truth that I'm going after, which is that thing underneath that you never thought you were able to acknowledge, that is the thing that you really want. And for me, it was finally admitting that I didn't have to wait for my family to make good choices. I could find a way to trick them into eating healthy. Once I honestly accepted that that's what I wanted, that I was not prepared to wait, that I was going to be a Jedi. I was going to walk up to somebody and I was going to get them to do things that was quite literally against their will. And I was going to make them want to do it. And it was going to be better for their life. And they were ultimately going to thank me. And I was going to do it without any force at all. I was going to do it by understanding them as a human being, by attaching myself to the things that were already working for me, their biological impulse to eat something that they crave, their biological impulse to soothe themselves with food. I knew, I've got all that. I know those levers are there. So now I just have to do the hard work of making something that's actually good for them that has all of those taste pathways.
Rule number 8, optimize your daily routine.
How have you structured your life? Do you have a morning routine? Like, how do you make time for things? How do you figure out what to do?
Well, like you, it is a bloodbath of the number of things that I want to do versus the number of things that I'm able to do. There is a gross discrepancy that I find emotionally distressing. And whenever I contemplate, like, whoa, you could actually look at my life and say, given how long each of the projects you care about takes, you're only going to get 7 more of them or whatever the number is done. That is heartbreaking in a way I can't explain. I try to turn away from that fact at all times. But what I do to get the most out of everything is, yes, I have a morning routine. but the morning routine starts the night before. So I'm doing everything I can to cognitively optimize. That's the first thing. So I get as much sleep as my body will take. I eat right, I exercise, I meditate. And that's basically my daily routine. And then maybe more importantly is I always have a list of the important things that I should be working on so that I'm never losing time to thinking about what should I be working on. So when one of those narrow windows open, I have in order exactly what I should be working on. I also have a vision for the company and my life, what I'm trying to accomplish. And so I know these projects align with that. These projects do not. So I get offers all the time to, join the boards of companies or whatever that I'm sure are going to go on to be wildly lucrative, but they do not align with what I have stated I want to accomplish with my life. I know what the mission of my life is. I also know how I plan to sort of logistically accomplish that mission. And so I just filter every yes or no decision through. Does this move me towards my goals? And so one of the edicts in my life is I only do and believe that which moves me towards my goals. And I'm super ruthless about that.
Rule number 9, make a challenge.
What was the greatest fear in the last 5 years that you had to overcome that has now become a skill or a superpower for you?
I think the only thing that I've sort of thought through like that is I feel like Kobe Bryant when he split from Shaq. And it was like he obviously had won a championship with Shaq, but could he win a championship on his own? Mm-hmm. And so my last company was so successful, but I did it with two partners. And so now to have a new partner in Lisa, it's like, okay, can I also lead this team to a championship? And so that drives me in a way that I find so fun of like, okay, cool. Hey, as a part of that group, smashed it. But can I do it over here?
Yeah.
So that like reinvention, trying things and letting myself feel the weight of like, hey, you gotta prove it, buddy. Like, right. You had a big success once. Can you do it again? Wow. And so doing that under new circumstances, to me, like, I love that. Like, I love the excitement of, can I? Will he? Won't he? So that's a lot of fun. But that's something that I think if I thought about the world differently, so I don't value myself for achieving it. So whether I achieve it or not is irrelevant. But showing up every day and sincerely pursuing it is what I value myself for. And I like to feel that sort of weight of like, hey, maybe you won't. Maybe you're going to fail. Maybe like it was only you as a part of this collective. Hey, you did a great job there. Or maybe it was just that moment in time. Yeah. Like you rode a wave. But like over here, can you create something from scratch? Can you repeat it? Yeah, that it's not. I don't live in a space of letting that be a fear. Sure. But it's like it's a cousin of that feeling. I think it's
a stepsister or something. Yeah.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is love your work.
My average week is probably 90 hours, 85 to 90 hours is my average. I routinely pop over 100 if something really has to get done. The key is to structure your life in such a way that the work is joyful. So the reason that when my wife and I exited our last company, we never needed to work again, ever. I mean, just never had to think about money again. And we thought, okay, what we want to do though is really do something that gives us meaning and significance. So let's build something. If we're going to work when we don't have to, let's make sure that what we build is something that fills us in ways that we can't explain. And for me, storytelling has always been just a calling. I love it so much. And I cannot tell you how much I love writing. So Jeff Bezos very aptly said that in any job, no matter how much you love it, there's a certain amount of overhead, things that you don't like doing. So Monday through Friday, I'm doing my overhead. When I work on the weekends, with precious few exceptions, it's never overhead. It's writing, it's editing a story, it's looking at concept art, it's, doing things that have to be done for the business, but also in and of themselves, I find so energizing and exciting that it's arguably the best way that I could spend. That's why I do it during my selfish time. So my wife and I take selfish time. She draws. She's a world-class artist, absolutely breathtaking. And I will write or do something around the stories. And that to me is incredible. So it's a lot of hours for work, but like they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So that's how I'm able to hit the kind of crazy numbers that I hit, or the number of books that I read. It's like, I love that. It lights me on fire. I'm excited to do it. I'm not trudging through it.
As Daniel Pink said, people fail to achieve mastery not because they aren't talented, but because they aren't disciplined. The wonderful news about the human condition is you can get good at anything that you set your mind to. It's just not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast. But the willingness to put in that work is what's going to separate you from everybody else. And I'm begging you to see yourself right now, today, as average, as no better than anyone else. But I beg you, with more force than I know how to convey with this language, to see yourself as malleable, to see yourself as capable of becoming anything you want to become truly extraordinary, if you can find within yourself the discipline to stick with it long enough. And as Steve Martin said, perseverance is a great substitute for talent. Everybody wants to talk about who's talented. Everybody looks at the person with innate talent as if they have something magical. But to me, it's a gift, it's a handout, it's a freebie. It hasn't been earned. And no matter what it is, it's only the beginning. Even somebody that has talent, even if you get an early win, if you let somebody outwork you, if you let somebody who has more perseverance, more grit than you, then they are going to outperform you on a long enough timeline. The only thing I can guarantee is you will be outworked by somebody unless you pour your heart and soul into getting great. If you don't take days off, if you put yourself into it as if your life depended on it, when you act like that, then you've got a chance to be great. And as Robert Horry said, pressure can bust pipes, but it can also make diamonds. You've got to want that pressure. You've got to want things to be hard. You can't seek out the easy life. You can't just hope and pray that you can uncover inside of you some talent that's laid dormant that you didn't know about, that's going to let things be easy for you. Don't want the easy. Want the hard. Want the pressure. Want the thing that's going to turn you into something. Because when it's easy, you don't work for it. When it's easy, you don't push. When it's easy, you get surpassed by the person who has to give it their all, who's prepared to do blood, sweat, and tears in order to become that thing that they want to be so badly because they are so angry that they were never given anything. And with that chip on their shoulder, they're determined to become anything that they set their mind to. So whether you have talent, whether you don't, the only thing that matters is, will you persevere? Will you stick with it long enough to get great? Some things you